He took them deep into the woods and they never came back. 3 innocent little girls. One father with military training and a plan that no one saw coming. This isn't a missing persons case anymore. This is a manhunt. Their names were Peyton, Evelyn, and Olivia, and their own dad is the prime suspect in their brutal murders. This is the story of Travis Decker, the ex-soldier who vanished in the Washington wilderness after allegedly killing his daughters in cold blood. On May 30th, 2025, Travis was given a weekend visitation with his daughters. It was supposed to be a short visit with no overnights allowed, but when their mother, Whitney Decker, didn't hear from him, she called the police. For 3 days, nobody knew where they were. Then on June 2nd, investigators found his abandoned truck near Rock Island Campground. The bodies of all 3 of these precious children were found. The girls were restrained with zip ties, suffocated with plastic bags, and wrapped in their own sleeping bags. Officials described this as one of the most chilling scenes they've ever encountered. There were no signs of struggle. Travis just didn't kill his daughters, he planned it, and then he vanished. And all the pain that the mother is going through, this is her speaking at the kid's funeral.
I just have a short something to share. Good evening, and thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. You all look beautiful, and I know that Abby would have loved to ooh and ah over all of your outfits. She would have been amazed by all the color out there, and just thought you guys look fantastic. You know that Peyton would have sought each and every one of you out to try to find something to give you a compliment for. She did that for everyone, whether it's in the grocery store or at school or with me, always telling me, oh, you look so beautiful, Mom, I love your earrings, or whatever it was that she could find. I wanted to share a music connection the girls and I had that I think allowed them to have such warm and open hearts to the community around them. After my divorce, there were a lot of feelings flowing through my house, as you could imagine, me going through a divorce with 3 small, tiny women. Some of the feelings were easier to talk about than others. Through the girls' time with Children's Home Society and some incredible therapists, we discovered the 3 feelings. At night, during their bedtime routine, I would ask them what 3 feelings they felt during that day. No feeling too big or too small, and what was going on when they felt those feelings. For Peyton, she always had more than 3, consistently eager to tell me about every minute of her day. She was always interrupting her sisters to make sure I knew every single one. For Ed, we would talk about her feelings one-on-one, right at bedtime, because she wasn't always ready to share them with her sisters. And for Olivia, we were still working on how to describe all of her feelings, but beyond a shadow of a doubt, one was always happy. Even when I tried to avoid telling my feelings, which was so easy to do as an adult, I feel like, the girls, one of them, would always say, wait, Mom, you didn't tell me what yours were, and make sure that I, too, would tell them what my 3 feelings were. I'm so thankful for the time that I had with the girls. And how the 3 feelings allowed us to connect when the world slowed down. And it really gave me an inside look into their day. I believe doing this is done allowed them to come into the world with open hearts and kindness. I hope that you are all able to do some version of the 3 feelings with your loved ones. Thank you everyone for being here tonight and the outpouring of love that you have shown me and my family over the past few weeks. I truly hope that the legacy of the girls' lives lives in everyone's heart forever. They were incredible.
With his former military background, Travis Decker has the skills to survive in the woods for a long period of time. Authorities have had pictures and leads, but they have not came close to containing Travis Decker. September 2024, we're going to rewind and listen to this recording of Travis Decker. During this recording, he is talking to authorities about the custody battle and him trying to win custody of his children against his former wife, Whitney.
When I was separated from my original active duty, I came out into the civilian world and tried to figure out a way that I could live as a civilian. I didn't have family, I didn't have friends, I didn't have any support, especially coming to a state where I didn't have anybody to lean on or a couch to go sleep on. So when we initially went through our divorce, I went and put the uniform back on full time so I could support myself and support the family through the first big transition of Dad not being at home anymore. Once I fulfilled my year obligation, I talked with my chain of command and stepped down from full active duty and transitioned into, I My contract ended in December of 2023. Starting over is hard, and I'm starting at the bottom, and I've got a long way to go, but I don't think that it should restrict the time that I get to be around my daughters.
We're not trying to take these children away from Mr. Decker. We respect and appreciate the fact that he loves his kids. That's obvious by the fact that he's attending their events. It's just important that they have this consistency in their lives.
Since I have been gone, every time I've had the girls, we have been in campsites in national forests and paid campsites that have campers. We've never done anything that was unsafe or anything I wouldn't want to put myself in. I understand that my current position when I'm by myself isn't ideal, but my daughters aren't a part of that. I only get to see them over the weekends, and camping is something that the four of us have done since the three of them were in diapers. I've never done anything I feel like that puts them in any sort of a risk that most families in the state of Washington, every campsite we've been to in the last month have been almost completely booked out or sold out because everybody's out this time of year. When I stepped away from the National Guard, I was making $86,000 a year, and now I make, I think it's like $38,000 a year. When you start over from zero and you don't have help in a hand to get you through it, it makes it a little more difficult.
One of the things I need to consider when I look at the best interest of the children is stability, and that's not stable. It's not stable having them in different places every time you have them. That's concerning to the court, regardless of whether it's in an RV, whether it's in a tent, whether it's in Airbnb, whether it's in a hotel, a motel. That's not stable, and that's always a concern for the court.
Travis was homeless, suffering from PTSD, and it seems like he was trying to get back at his ex-wife by killing his kids. And there's a whole bunch of Americans that are former military or veterans that are homeless, but they don't do acts like this, and some do. There's a $20,000 reward for Decker, and they also released this photo of how he changes his appearance. Now, they're saying this could have been avoided, and these are photos from the site that he was living at and that his girls would visit, and it looks a little bit too polished. But authorities said they found his wallet here, and you can see this is the whole campsite, and then they found this. Now, obviously, he didn't use a gun to kill his children, but the authorities are saying that he is not armed and dangerous. They came out and said that, when in reality, that he just killed his children, so he is dangerous, and this should be a big concern. A lot of people are mad there was no Amber Alert. And some people are saying this could have been avoided. You know, the court system could have looked at all the things that he was going through and said, you know what, these kids are not fit to be with you right now. Get your life together. And then when you get your life together, get a stable living, you can have your kids back. But that's not what happened. He was able to see his kids, and therefore this event happened, and RIP to those beautiful souls.
Travis Decker was born and raised in Pewaukee, Wisconsin. Those who knew him growing up described him as athletic, driven, and deeply influenced by his grandfather, a former Green Beret. From a young age, Travis idolized military life and had dreams of serving his country. He was close to his family in his early years and reportedly excelled in sports and physical activities. There were no major red flags in his childhood. He wasn't known as a troublemaker or problem child. But beneath the surface, there were early signs of emotional complexity that would become more visible in adulthood. In 2013, Decker enlisted in the U.S. Army and later deployed to Afghanistan with the 173rd Airborne Brigade. Although he never completed Ranger School, he served honorably and earned expert infantry and parachutist badges. However, like many veterans, the transition back to civilian life hit him hard. He was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, and later with borderline personality disorder. Over time, his behavior became more erratic. His personal relationships strained and his mental health began to unravel. His brother and ex-wife both reported that he was refusing treatment and withdrawing from the people who cared about him most. By 2024, Travis Decker had become completely detached from stable housing and employment. He bounced between motels, campgrounds, and his truck, telling courts he was simply living a minimalist lifestyle. In reality, court records and witness testimony described a man who had spiraled into isolation and untreated mental illness. He wasn't holding a steady job, had no fixed address, and was relying on public wilderness areas to survive. Despite these red flags, he was still granted supervised visitation with his daughters. Tragically, the instability and mental deterioration that led to his homelessness also set the stage for what would become one of the most heartbreaking crimes in recent memory.